Do you still love me or not?
97 outside. No.
The title for this is Goodbye Olympics, Hello Competition. Hi, I'm Kay. This is Frankly Kay, where awareness and clarity means power. Where I do financial literacy videos, journal with me's, book reviews, and other random stuff. So if you like that, join us here at the Midnight Pulp Party. Please consider subscribing and leave a like and put a comment that just says hi or an emoji. Put a peach. It's August. No, put a dog emoji for the dog days of summer. Okay? Today we're going to talk about the ban of non-compete clauses, and why it's a good thing. I think, we all have been frustrated in certain fields. If you looked at your HR packets or whatever, with their hiring and firing disclaimers, a lot of places had non-compete, especially banks and stuff. And it really messes people up because it makes it so that you can't even sometimes take your new ideas with you. Like if you had an idea or something that you formulated while you were on the job, you're not allowed to kind of take that with you because it seems like competition. It's going to be a competitor. You signed a clause saying that you would not become a competitor or work for any competitors. So that makes it really difficult for people to ethically find more work, which was wild that it was going on for as long as it was. I don't know when the non-compete clause came into effect. I'll look it up and put it here. But the fact that it was even put into effect was like, it's just a tool of greed and manipulation, like to keep you at a place. You can't move forward, you can't move laterally because you're not allowed to go work for a competitor either under these non-compete clauses. So you're actually stuck in a pay grade that your current job has decided, and competition for ideas is lessened or stifled, I should say. Competition in general is stifled, that's why it's a non-compete clause, but it's just the aspect of telling people they're not allowed to go anywhere, essentially, and they're not allowed to do anything that relates to the job that they do outside of the workplace, even when they quit. Some places had non-compete this is a mouthful. Some places have non-compete clauses that are still effective even after you've left the job. Like you basically signed saying that you promise not to work for any competitors afterwards because they're thinking you'll take their ideas and go over to your competitor. Now I feel like it depends on what station you're in at that company, but I feel like certain non-compete clauses are kind of ridiculous. And then you have the whole tech world, which I feel like, I don't know how their non-compete clauses go, but I feel like theirs might be they're either loose or strict. They're either strict and nobody cares, or they're just really loose or non-existent. Because IT people are constantly leaving one place and, finding a better opportunity somewhere else, or even making their own business. That's another thing about non-compete clauses. Starting your own business, having a startup in certain industries gets looked at as a breach of your non-compete clause, and especially I think with IT. The phone rang and threw me off. Now I can't remember where I left off, but let me just jump into the next point. Also, there is a small exception. So if you're a senior employee, so that means, I don't think that means like longevity wise senior, like you've been there a long time. I think it means like executive level employees. I think if you already have a non-compete clause, I think companies are still allowed to enforce that because of what I was just saying earlier. At those levels, you might be taking whole ideas from the company and then doing a startup or going to another place. And I think that's honestly just a risk that you take as the company because of the fact that you hired a whole individual with their own mind for those ideas, right? That was the reason why you hired this executive, for their ideas and the way they can put direction to the company in whatever executive position you put them in. So to tell them that they can't take their brain and leave because of whatever's going on at your company. Like whether they want to expand themselves, like they want to go into business for themselves. I feel like they should be able to take their ideas and go into business for themselves, whether, you know, they shared the ideas with you or not. Like that's still their intellectual property to a certain extent. Like even if it's like an idea they had and then they tweak it so that it fits what they want to do, I feel like that should be allowed. But there's legalities with all of that. I know it can encroach on stuff, but again, that's why this non-compete clause ban was so, I think, is so shaking, because that opens the doors for newer senior executive employees, because they are not going to be able to enforce the non-compete with with new hires, people who are getting hired like within this month, I'm assuming, and going forward. You can't enforce it. But I think if you've been hired prior to the ban, they can enforce those clauses with you. In industries like the one I'm in, like finance. Also, I forgot my microphone. Excuse the mic quality. So, well, I can't plug it in. My manager is here harassing me. It's a ghost. So, and about non-compete clauses for senior executives, even though the people who already have them, it can still be enforced under this new ban. The people who are non-executive senior employees, or any kind of employee that's non-executive, they can't enforce an existing non-compete ban. So if you're a non-executive employee with a non-compete clause, it doesn't apply to you anymore. The point is, they can, if you already are under one, they can no longer enforce it unless you are an executive. In some of those cases, they can still enforce a non-compete clause. But newer executives in the process of hire right now, because the ban is in effect, they can't enforce it with them. And then any other employee, they can't enforce it whether you are already there or whether you just got hired. Great news, because now you have more freedom to exercise your intellectual property, honestly, and move from place to place with your ideas, with your inventions, any kind of thing. Even if you wanted to do a startup like I was talking about earlier, you now have more freedom without that legal ramification to take those ideas that were yours and you had and made and implement them in a new way. All the details you might want to look into, like any kind of business law or something like that, because there might be other details that still apply. Like you can't take, probably, I'm assuming logically, the exact same idea and then go and, you know, make yours or whatever. I think you might have to tweak it a little bit, because in essence, once you've given that idea to the company, you did hand it over. And I don't know how that works within this clause, where, because I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know if you can like infringe on that. So that was that. And I got this information from the FTC.gov, because that is the Federal Trade Commission, which I brought up here earlier when I talk about investments and everything, and they're the ones that broke this news to me because I went and looked for it. Okay, so the good thing about this, I think the special thing about this law or whatever, it showed the actual use of our government structure and how it's powered by the people, because the FTC had opened up comments in January of 2023 about non-compete clauses, and apparently it got over 26,000 comments, and over 25,000 of them were in support of the ban of non-compete clauses. So I think that shows, like, you know, how powerful you can be in legislation as an individual person, especially when the legislation has a legal duty to listen to you. So keep your eyes out for these kinds of things. Like something as simple as our libraries were getting restructured around here for a while, and there was a DC one that was getting restructured, and it was one I always went to. So I followed it on Twitter at the time. I'm no longer on Twitter, but at the time I was on Twitter, and I followed the library on Twitter, and because they would give updates on like new books that they just got in, and releases and videos and stuff like that, programs and everything. So this one was talking about they were going to rename it, and they actually asked for people's opinion, and most people wanted them to keep the original name, and then they could have like an addendum name, basically honoring a different person, and the library did it. So that's another example. I think more participation when it comes to legislation or things that are happening in your civil arena, it is important for you to stay abreast on those things, however you do that. And I mean, hopefully these videos can be one of those ways. I don't have any new news, like I wish. Okay, I will look for any kind of legislation or commentary that's being asked for right now August 2024. It's August 12th. And I will put it in the description box below. So please check the description box for that. If I find anything, it will be down there. Just so you guys can keep abreast. Or at least I'll take you to a site that has, you know, it'll update that kind of thing. So I'll try to keep you guys abreast on that. This will most likely, I will stick in the realm of things that have to do with business and finance, though. I'm not going to go too far into other stuff just because it's going to be a lot of indexing. So that's that. That's the final rule. So if you're on the side that's worrying more about the effect on the company side for non-competes, they still do have a couple of laws that will help protect proprietary information and like sensitive information that shouldn't be leaked to the general public or any kind of public or another business. Like, they have things that will make it, it's like trade secrets. I think that was exactly what I just read. It was trade secret. It's like a trade secret clause, basically saying like under certain circumstances there are certain things that you cannot take from the company and go somewhere else because it's literally trade secrets. And that probably includes like food places. I don't know, I'm looking at you. So that will probably include especially places like restaurants. Maybe if you have like a certain menu, you know, recipes and stuff like that, I can understand that being something that's more trade secrets. So it's not really non-compete. It's its own thing where you really can't take that over there because this place has made this a staple here. And it might even be technology. Certain technologies might be trade secret. And that's like somebody's niche, like the whole backbone of the business. So to take that to another company because you left is kind of wild, I would imagine. So I think those kinds of things will still be in effect. I'm pretty sure I read that. So the second part of this news, okay, today is all about what the FTC has been doing because that's what I wanted to talk about. The other thing that happened a couple days ago is that the FTC also ruled on the FES, which apparently is Financial Education Services Inc. They have basically led to a permanent ban for the scammers behind, that's what this is called. FTC action leads to permanent bans for scammers behind sprawling credit repair pyramid schemes. So the FES, the Financial Education Services Inc., they were allegedly scamming. And it's just like what I was talking about maybe a couple videos ago when I was talking about credit repair companies and how you guys need to be careful about giving your money. Not all of them are bad, but there are a lot of people who are basically just scamming people out of their hard-earned money with promises of repairing their credit and then not actually doing any of the things that they said they were going to do. This one, I think they were taking money consistently from their consumers, and it was apparently millions of dollars that they had racked up. And these people were not getting any services at all when it came to their credit repair. So that's one scammer down, 8 million more on TikTok to go. I don't even know if they were on TikTok. The point is that these scams are out here, so you need to be careful. The FTC can't catch them all. All right, they gather, I think, the biggest ones because, you know, they're an agency. So they're not going to just, unless this one person is wreaking havoc, I don't think it would get their attention immediately. But you can still report it at a state level. And to the Better Business Bureau, you can report them there as well. And you can also find out if they're even a legitimate business. And there's nothing wrong with someone having a business they haven't registered yet. But that should be something that when you're asking about credit repairs and stuff, there should be some sort of registration. Everything in the financial world has certification. It's a big money business, both in and out. And so what I found with an easy Google search is that there are certifications to get credit repair courses certified. Indeed.com. We all know Indeed.com. Let's go see what they have to say about becoming a certified credit analyst. Types of analyst certifications: a CBCA for newcomers, a CCRA for finance and accounting graduates, a CCP for experienced finance professionals, CRC for banking or credit analysis veterans, CCE for seasoned credit professionals with multiple qualification pathways. So these are all different ways, different paths that people should and can take to become a credit repair specialist. Now, I think it's okay if they don't have it right away because they're building towards it. Maybe they started their company because this is what they're passionate about and they're working to get their certifications. All that is different from somebody who's just like, I've had a hard time with my credit and now it's better. So give me your money and I will help you do your credit. And sometimes even people with certifications can scam you. So it's not like a catch-all or end-all be-all, but it is better to see that that person has invested in this. They invested in this somehow so that you can invest in them. That's really, I think, what certification solidifies, that this person is taking it so seriously that they have put their own money or some money that they got towards this thing to make themselves more credited, more trustworthy, more knowledgeable about the practices that they're going to be having you apply to your life for the betterment of your credit in this case. And then the main thing why they were taking down the FES is because they were working on, they were MLM as it's called now, but as everyone has known it for a long time, pyramid schemes. So it's basically a pyramid scheme, and I think they were recruiting people to become credit repair specialists along with not actually providing proper services. So what got them caught up was them being a pyramid scheme, because being a pyramid scheme is illegal in this country. So I'm not entirely sure why people keep, oh, well, I guess that's why you do anything illegal, you know what I mean? It's making you money. But anyway, so I'm not telling you not to do these things. What I am telling you is what will happen if you do them. It says, they said, the Samuel Levine, director of the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection, that is a whole department they have there, is committed to stopping deceptive credit repair tactics and shutting down illegal pyramid schemes that prey on struggling customers. So that's really good news. I'm giving only good news today, because usually in the finance news I give a lot of bad news actually. And so for the final piece of FTC news that came out of August so far is that they had a whole meeting on the 1st of August apparently, where they talked about the different steps that they've been taking to eliminate what they kept referencing as junk fees. And it's in all these different industries, from healthcare to like schools to even grocery store pricing, and they said concert pricing, anything that would make it more unnecessarily expensive for American consumers to consume certain goods and services. They've been trying to eliminate those kinds of things. Like, what did they had school lunch fees was on there. Hold on, let me just grab it. Including proposing a ban on family seating junk fees, investigating Delta's refund, reimbursement, and customer service problems during the recent IT meltdown. So each industry, the meeting that the FTC held was to talk about what they've been doing to address these issues and talking about the issues. And a lot of it was, a lot of these things are going into full investigation mode by a strike force, and that's like somebody, like a whole team that's been put together essentially for a certain task. And the task right now apparently is this: getting fees, unnecessary fees, out of the way when it comes to making life more affordable for Americans. And they said one of them was uncovering evidence of corporate conduct that may raise the price of gas. They had to uncover that in order to address it. Then they were talking about working on lowering the cost of asthma inhalers to just $35 out of pocket. And so if someone has to buy asthma inhalers for yourself or for a kid or a parent or a spouse or something, or sibling, anyone who has to, how much are you guys paying roughly a month for asthma inhalers? I know prescriptions get ridiculous, but when they said $35 out of pocket for an asthma inhaler, and I was remembering how many inhalers like my classmates at school would go through a month, like that's a lot of money. And even at $35 it would be a lot of money. So I'm like, how much are you paying right now? Anyway, and then they have unlawful behavior that affects the prices Americans pay for groceries, transportation, and healthcare. They're talking about lowering prices in higher education, housing, transportation, food, agriculture, live music, healthcare, and other vital industries. So the Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General, Brian Boynton, highlighted the civil division's work to combat fraudulent pricing schemes. So that's what they're doing there, involving government agencies and financial institutions. And that probably includes banks, because there was a whole thing where they were trying to get rid of the overdraft fees, and so a lot of places have gotten rid of overdraft fees to a certain extent. But if you have something that is automatically taken out of your account, I think I've talked about this before, if you have something that automatically comes out of your account that's not an overdraft fee, that would be an NSF fee, so a non-sufficient funds fee. Those are two completely different things. I don't know if they addressed non-sufficient fund fees, because that's like a returned check back in the day, so I don't think they'll get rid of that, because it's like taking a bad check, so they're going to penalize you for that. But the overdraft fees, I think on a whole, have stopped at most large banks. Most large banks, not everybody, but most large banks aren't enforcing overdraft fees anymore because of things like this. Department of Agriculture Deputy Secretary Torres Small highlighted the USDA approach of tackling food and agricultural pricing challenges for farmers and consumers, including an ongoing investigative study on retail concentration and market practices. So again, like I said, a lot of these things this strike force was talking about and highlighting what they've been doing to combat these, basically what we would consider inflation, but it's really just predatory pricing. They've been doing a lot of investigations so that they can get all the facts to be able to put together what kind of approach or what kind of ban. Basically, it's like evidence saying, hey, this is what these people are doing over here in this industry, so this is what we're going to do to make sure that that stops happening. But, you know, you have to get the research done first. So a lot of these things were people launching investigations or talking about what they've discovered, and then they were going to do next steps. So, yeah, this is all really good news so far. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission Chair Gary Gensler also spoke about the SEC's work. We've talked about the SEC here more on the investment side, but we talked about that, and one of the things that he was talking about apparently was anti-competitive business practices. And that goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of this video with the non-compete clause. So that was probably because of whatever research they were doing in that department under this thing that they talked about. They found that out, you know, obviously a year ago, like that open forum that I was saying that they had for comments. That started because of things like this, where they have to sit down, make a task force to talk about what needs to be done, what is being done, including investigations and research and market analysis. That all goes into something like, that is all part of what we saw last year in January when they opened up those comments for the idea for banning non-compete clauses. Those kinds of things happen, and then those things move forward, go through legislation, go through law, whatever the process is, I don't know, and then we get something like this, the ban on non-compete clauses. So this is all very good news. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen next. If you also want to keep abreast, like I said, I found all this news. These are all breaking news press releases on their official website, the FTC's official website, ftc.gov. I will link it below. They always have their press releases always saying different things. I've given you guys where I get a lot of information. So if you want to like keep abreast on other things, because I only talk about the business and finance aspects, but they talk about other things. Like they had something on there about TikTok that I'm not going to talk about. So anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Goodbye.